to my channel. It is JustJalisaRanae with none other than she. Today's topic is
how my business failed and how yours will too
if you make the same mistakes that I did. So grab your glass of wine, grab your pen and paper, and get ready to take some notes because I'm trying to help you. Okay, so this is a little bit back down memory lane. So
just bear with me, okay?
Okay, so for starters, back in about 2017-ish era, I launched my photography studio, okay, in Smyrna, Tennessee. And I was so excited, baby, you couldn't tell me nothing. So I actually was working with someone at the call center I was working at the time. And he had a brother, okay? His brother was opening up a business in Smyrna as well. It was a tattoo shop. But this tattoo shop had extra, you know, like areas to where he could rent out. So there was a garage space that was just empty space, okay? So his brother was telling me, like, you know, yeah, you should, you know, link up with my brother, whatever. You're looking for a space. Your work is amazing. His work is amazing. He does tattoos. Like, maybe y'all could kind of bounce ideas off of each other and help each other out with, you know, building your business. So I'm thinking that this is a good idea. Okay, so I take that information and I hit up my cousin at the time, and I told her, I was like,
girl, you will not believe what opportunity just presented itself.
And that was where I went wrong. Okay, so my cousin was like, slow your roll, pump your brakes. Tell me, you know, the details and what have you. And so I make an appointment to go down to this place in Smyrna. It literally was an old car spot of some sort where like they worked on cars, and so the concrete had a lot of oil that had just been seeping in
for years and years and years.
I'll get to that later. But nonetheless, my cousin tells me to go up there, so I go up there and I have her on the phone. I'm asking questions because she's very business savvy. So I'm asking a whole lot of questions, and she was like, you know what, Jalisa, you probably should look more into it and just take your time, look at some other opportunities, some other spaces. But I was hard-headed. So I went ahead, fast forward, I signed the lease, okay. My landlord was a melanated tattoo artist. He was very known in Nashville, and I thought everything was good. Signed the lease, moved my stuff in. I started doing some DIY projects just to make it more my style, okay. Put
my little stamp on it.
So fast forward, and we were having some issues. We were kind of colliding, not in a good way. So there were some times where I had photo shoots booked and he was not there. So he never gave me a key to get into my part of the space. So every time I had a photo shoot, I would have to call him, or he would just happen to be there, so it was no issue. But I had some where he was not there, and then he would take forever to come and unlock the door. And I was just asking myself, like, if I'm paying rent, why do I have to call you to unlock the door to let me in? Like, that's not making sense. So we got into a little dispute because I felt that if I'm a tenant, I should have access to my space. He felt otherwise. So yeah. Long story short, I gave you that backstory just to go over a few things, okay, on where exactly I went wrong. And it was quite a few things that I did that, looking back, I wish I would have done a lot differently, and I probably would still have my studio space. Okay.
So first things first is the timing.
So although prior to this space, I was basically having a membership at a shared photography studio in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, okay. That was working, but they no longer were there. So I really just wanted a space of my own, you know, somewhere to call home, my studio, my creative space, somewhere that I can go and just do my thing, you know, create wonderful work.
But I was impatient. I was impatient and I rushed the process.
So had I actually taken the time to create a business plan, to do some market research, to make sure that like all my ducks was in a row, I probably would still have my photography studio right now. Okay.
Second thing that I made a mistake on
was not properly researching and vetting my landlord. So I just took somebody's word for it because I worked with him. He was a good employee. So I figured, okay, if you're referring me to someone, then they are an extension of your work ethic and your morale. And that, baby, is where I went wrong because I should have vetted my landlord. I didn't know him from a can of paint. And come to find out, I found out more information about him after our lease agreement was terminated. But if you are leasing a space from somebody or you are contemplating leasing a space from somebody,
make sure you know who these people are. Please.
Lastly, is the space itself. I did not research this building. So had I known what I had found out, I would have never even considered that property because like I mentioned to y'all, that was it used to be like an old car shop of some sort. It's over in the industrial part of Smyrna near like Nissan and all the plants. So the concrete, like I mentioned, soaked up oil from years and years and years and years. And what I did was I painted the floors with concrete paint and I had put like the little glitter on it and it was so cute. But I kid you not, it just peeled right off. It just peeled right off because the concrete was so oily. There was really no amount of degreaser you could put on that floor for that paint to stick. And so had I actually researched the building itself and what it was used prior to my use, then I would have said, you know what, either
one, I'm going to save my money and not paint these floors, or two, I'm just going to find me a different building, baby, because
this ain't gonna work. Okay, so fast forward to 2019. I quit my job at that dreadful call center that I talk about so much. Like, oh my gosh.
Thank you, Jesus.
I quit the call center, okay?
I just stopped going. I just quit. I didn't even give it 2 weeks notice. I didn't even give it 1 day notice. I just stopped going altogether.
I woke up one day and said, I'm not going back. That's a real life story. But I withdrew all of my money from my 401k that I had at that employer. To me, 401ks are pointless. That's just me. That's not an avenue of savings, retirement, investing that I vouch for. Okay.
It just doesn't work for me.
So me withdrawing all my money, it didn't really faze me too much. But I'm gonna tell you where I went wrong. Because I went wrong. Okay, so let's get into it. So at the time that I quit my job,
I was going through things in my personal life. So I was really making a lot of irrational decisions.
I'm not gonna lie to you. And I was kind of hanging around some people that were, to me, just like yes men. Like, oh, you want to do that? Sure. You know, I didn't really have anybody telling me like, you know what, Jalisa, you probably shouldn't do that. You know, should reconsider, blah, blah, blah. I just had a whole bunch of yes men in my corner. So I found a space in Nashville, North Nashville, actually, to be more specific, right off Jefferson Street in the heart of like Black Nashville. And I was so excited because I wanted to bring something creative to that community. I didn't grow up in Nashville. I'm not originally from Nashville.
But I am very much Black and I'm very much a creative.
So I wanted to put my stamp on North Nashville, okay? I wanted to help revitalize the creative scene in Nashville and bring new ideas and just new art to the scene, okay? So, just to give you a little backstory.
So, I found this space. Now, you would think from the last situation I would actually research this building, which I did not. I saw a for rent sign and I had just quit my job and I was like, oh, this is the space for me. It's in the perfect area. It's where I want to be. Now, I toured the space with the landlord, who was also another melanated man. He was not a tattoo artist, but nonetheless, there was some tension that came up during my lease agreement there because the building was old. I mean old. Like, this building was old. And so the AC and the HVAC situation was very much outdated for what I needed.
So prior to me signing my lease, I had explained to this landlord what I was using the space for. I was using the space for photo shoots and for small events.
Okay, small creative events that I wanted to host in my space. He agreed. He said nothing, would be wrong with doing that. Everything was going to work out. So I was excited because I was like, you know what? The space was somewhat remodeled. I had tons of plans on what I wanted to add to the space, which I did.
I put up a pallet wall. I actually cut down tons of bamboo. My current husband and I, my now husband, my baby love, okay, we was out in the field chopping down bamboo, and I put this in my studio space.
So I put in not only money, but I put in a lot of time and a lot of sweat equity into my space. And my landlord was fully aware of what I was using my space for. And I told him my vision. I told him everything that I was trying to do with my space.
So I used all my money from my 401k, used that to purchase furniture, decor, what have you, to get the space up to what I wanted it to be.
And I started hosting small events like originally planned, and I was getting some poor customer feedback, not of the event itself or the space, but because it was hot. Okay, it was hot. Everybody was hot because the HVAC situation was subpar. And I gave this feedback to my landlord in hopes that something would be done to either update the HVAC cooling situation or to come up with somewhat of a different remedy.
But that failed.
So, again, y'all, what I learned from that is to research the building that you will be leasing. If you have a brick and mortar, please research, especially if it's not a new build. If it's a new build, whatever. But if it is a pre-existing dwelling, please research what that building was used for prior to you and when the building was built, the year that it was built.
Because if this sucker was built back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, there's a good chance that you're going to need to update some of the systems, whether it be electrical, HVAC, parking.
I mean, whatever the case may be. So please research the building. Next, I would say is to really
research your landlord. If you are using a private landlord,
please get some references. And I would actually strongly recommend trying to go through a company versus just a private landlord, because you will come into issues that as a private landlord, it's not going to be on your side. So it's going to be harder to fight those situations that legally and ethically should be resolved versus going through a company who's more professional and held accountable. And please be sure
to do your financials and your business plan prior to doing any business venture,
especially one that is going to require a brick and mortar,
because you really want to make sure that your investment is going to have a positive return and that you really understand what is needed to produce revenue, to sustain revenue, and to scale your revenue.
And you do not want to get in over your head by getting into unnecessary lease agreements or purchasing furniture that you don't need, because it's not going to matter if you're not getting any revenue. But you know what? If I'm being honest, I would also say that in addition to the other issues that I already mentioned is timing. So if it is not your time to do something, if it is not your time to purchase a building, if it is not your time to lease a building or to start a business or to start the business that you want to start, then it is just not your time. And that's okay. And that's okay. One thing that I do now is I write down all of my goals. I write down all of my goals multiple times.
I mean, I have, 7 journals over there on my desk. I'm constantly writing down my goals.
And then I pray over them. So if they do not manifest themselves, or if the opportunity does not arise, or if I do not get any type of inclination that this is the right choice, I'm not going to do it. Because obviously that is God's way of telling me that's either A, not for me, or B, it is not my time for that to happen. So make sure that you are doing your business plan. Make sure that you are vetting your possible landlord or partnerships or whatever the situation may be. And then also make sure that you are researching the location of your business, your target audience, your building space. Okay, make sure that you're doing market research, and that is part of the business plan. These are things you should be doing. But last but not least, make sure that you are praying over your business, and make sure that you are praying over your ideas, because you may have a great idea, it just may not be what's right for you in this season of your life.
Or you may have a great idea that you have not sat down and really considered, and you may just be sleeping on it, and God may be trying to wake you up. So either way, either it's not your time, or it is for you and you just need to wait, or it is for you and you need to put in some action.
Either of those options is going to require patience, it is going to require obedience, and it is going to require work. It's not just going to happen overnight. So I hope that helped y'all. If it did, please leave a comment below if you've had a prior experience to where one of your business ideas have failed, or if you have learned something from one of your previous business launches or a current launch that you're working on.
So I hope to hear from y'all. Let me know if this helped at all. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I will continue to share more about my journey and hopefully more tips and information that can help you on your entrepreneurial and faith journey.